I truly believe that I have important messages to share with this world. When I first went vegan, I remember reading about the recidivism rate being extremely high, like around 84%, and this was shocking to me. But then I did a little research and found that there's several problems with the study, one being that they didn't distinguish between vegetarians and vegans, and they also didn't distinguish between ethical vegans and plant-based dieters. I'm not one to say that if you go back to eating animal products, you were never truly a vegan. Once the ethical connection's made, there's no going back, because sadly, there are examples of people who were ethical vegans reverting back to eating animal products. Social influence and apathy, unfortunately, have a really strong pull. It's difficult to sustain care in a world where people, your friends, family, and industries are subliminally telling you that your efforts are futile. With all that said, I think that it is true for some of these ex-vegans that they were never really vegan in the first place. They were just following a plant-based diet. And this is extremely evident by the fact that Elise, also known as Raw Alignment, bought a designer dog from a breeder. The underlying problem that I see with people like Elise is that they really promote this idea that we have to trust our intuition, as if our intuition is never wrong. Whatever you are feeling in the moment is right for you. You're just living your truth. But this is not how truth works, okay? There are empirical facts about reality that do not change. Of course, there are many unanswered questions in science, but there are also many questions that we do have the answers to. And if eating animals feels right to you, I'm sorry, but your truth is just complete bullshit. It was just a feeling, like my brain is not working the way that it once did and the way that it can, and it was like a very isolating feeling. So naturally, I wanted to get to the bottom of it, so I became even more passionate about dietary choices and lifestyle choices that can basically enhance the brain, and more specifically, mitochondrial functioning and repairing or replacing damaged neurons and glial cells. I just became fascinated with all of this and determined to figure out how I could get my brain working again. And some of the common things that kept coming up in my research was salmon and grass-fed beef. But I was kind of writing off the possibility of salmon and grass-fed beef and other things being able to enhance my health, because to me I had this association, which I think is a natural association with vegans, is that those things are unhealthy because of the way that we used to eat them and used to consume them, perhaps factory farming or fast food, or paired with whatever, processed bread or whatever. So I just wanted to touch on that because I see things quite differently now, but I think I was very, very tunnel vision. Nope, that's not an option because that relates to my past, which was me suffering. She's talking completely out of her ass in this clip. She has no science to back her claims. It's not like treating an animal nicely and feeding them grass is going to just dissolve the saturated fat and cholesterol from their flesh. Sure, lean, natural meats are marginally healthier for you than factory-farmed, corn-fed beef. But compared to what? Lentils are monumentally healthier for you than the leanest of meats. And yes, I have linked peer-reviewed research down below. If an influencer is telling you to do your own research, we need to pay attention to what kind of research they are promoting. Because if they say that they've done research but then they never cite any of their sources or stress the importance of peer-reviewed medical science, then we have to take what they say with a grain of salt. Shallow research, like internet blogs, for example, is not adequate research. Elise has even admitted that she's not much of a researcher. Bonny Rebecca, on the other hand, says that she sought help from a medical professional, and while I don't doubt this, she still doesn't link any research supporting her claims that fish and eggs are medically necessary to heal her gut. It's pretty obvious that these influencers like Raw Alignment, Ravana, Bonny Rebecca, Kalel, the list goes on, are easily influenced by trends because they happen to put out these very similar confession-type videos around the same time. This wave of ex-vegans is not an indication that the vegan movement is failing. It's more just proof that promoting veganism as this magical diet that's gonna cure all your ills is just setting unrealistic health expectations. And perhaps certain health trends like water fasting, juice cleanses, raw veganism, alkaline water may actually cause health problems. I find it particularly curious that 10 plus YouTubers are suddenly struggling from fish or egg or grass-fed beef deficiencies in the same 6-month time frame, and they're not genetically related at all. I mean, all of these videos are the same. People with orthorexic tendencies who learned about veganism back when raw till 4 and 80-10-10 diets were super trendy, making appeals to nature, presenting no scientific evidence to support their claims, contradicting themselves, and just throwing ethics out the window. I personally was led to veganism, or down this path to veganism, because of the health benefits. Veganism was not on my radar at all until I watched Forks Over Knives. So I think there is a fair point to be made that once you make this dietary shift for selfish reasons, your mind is more open to hearing the arguments for animal rights. I think that promoting this health angle is overall a net positive for the movement, but I also recognize that you can't go vegan for your health. Like, there's this idea that there's so many reasons to go vegan, when in reality, if you look at the definition of veganism, there's only one reason to go vegan. Like, there's tons of reasons to eat more plants, but veganism is about the animals. Following a plant-based diet does not make you a vegan. Do I think we should shame people who follow a plant-based diet? No. But I think when we're advocating for veganism, it's important to stress that this is about ethics. Veganism is an ethical stance against all forms of animal exploitation, and it is a rejection of speciesism as a form of discrimination. I'm not going to restate everything I said in my Why I'm Still Vegan video, but if you haven't already seen it, go give it a watch because it's extremely relevant to this topic. I want to talk about labels for a minute because I find myself in both camps on this subject. On the one hand, I understand that the point of a label is to denote meaning, so we can't be so loose with labels and just keep broadening the definition of things because then it becomes meaningless. But on the other hand, I feel like there should be a little bit of leeway in labels, especially the vegan label. Say you quit smoking cigarettes, and you now identify as a non-smoker. But then, in a moment of weakness, you slip up and smoke a cigarette. I don't think you need to revoke your non-smoker status necessarily. Let's say you were to be super rigid about this definition. What it means to be a non-smoker means you never smoke a single cigarette. So psychologically speaking, if you impose this new label on yourself, you're a smoker again, you're going to be more likely to go to the store and buy a pack of cigarettes because you're a smoker, right? But if you call yourself a non-smoker, you're just gonna, brush it off and continue doing your best at avoiding cigarettes. At a certain point, I get that you should probably be honest with yourself. Like, if you're cheating on your vegan diet pretty regularly, maybe you should accurately describe yourself as a flexitarian. I, for example, went vegan 6 years ago. I'm 25 now, so I went vegan when I was 18. But when I was 19, I went on Accutane, which, as you probably know, is not vegan. It was tested on animals. The capsules contain gelatin. But I, as a vegan, intentionally took this medication, and no, it was not medically necessary. Like, I wasn't gonna die if I didn't take it. But I made this choice out of desperation. Acne was killing my self-confidence, and it was incredibly annoying. By some people's standards, perhaps I've only been a vegan for 5 years. I'd be lying if I said that I've never made any exceptions for small amounts of certain animal-derived ingredients in the past 6 years. I think the problem is when we make excuses like this too often and for too many things. We really have to be honest with ourselves about what is possible and practicable. If I get a bunch of criticism for admitting this, perhaps it's fair. People probably gonna tell me not a real vegan, can't call myself vegan. But you know what I'm not going to do in response to that? Abandon the vegan label and distance myself from this toxic community, because that makes literally no sense. You can tell me that I'm a piece of fucking trash in the comments, and it's not going to stop me from advocating for animal rights. It's not going to make me want to go out and buy more products that contain beeswax or carmine out of spite. No matter what people say, I'm going to continue to work closer and closer to living in full alignment with my values. Speaking of alignment, she claims her channel has always been about self-growth, love, and change. And that's where I call bullshit, because change is fundamental to growth, yes, but not all change is positive. Attempting to justify taking the life of a cow when she would never eat a grass-fed dog is not progress, that is regression. Bolt gutting a cow in the head at a fraction of its natural lifespan and then slitting its throat open because you're too lazy to do actual research and you're just going off of fucking whims. That is not positive or kind or loving, okay? Actions speak louder than words. There's just no freaking logical consistency here. In Bonnie Rebecca's case, she tries to justify consuming eggs that are ethically sourced. What does that even mean? Even in the organic, cage-free egg industry, baby male chicks are still thrown in a giant macerator the day they hatch because they're not profitable. I highly doubt Bonnie would be ethically okay with dropping a baby chick into her blender in the morning while she's cracking open her eggs and listening to her jazzy elevator music. So I don't understand why she feels so comfortable paying someone else to do this for her. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you don't take it as, hate towards Bonnie or Elise. I don't hate them. I don't think they're bad people. But I'm gonna call some bullshit when I see it. And the intention behind this video was more to serve as a call to action to all my real vegans out there to rise up and get active, like do freaking activism so we can offset all this bullshit on the internet. Alright, see ya.
Yo, how when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me nah eat no fish, nah no meat now. How when me eat them, I wonder when me yam. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan man. How when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me nah eat no fish, nah no meat now.